Killer Klowns from outer space. Holy shit.
He said the title. He said the title. Objection! Guys, I'm gonna be honest. There is not another game I've been more excited and hopeful for this year than Killer Klowns from Outer Space, the game. Based on the cult classic film I absolutely love, just knowing that there was an actual game being created around it, my hype was through the roof. The game was developed by Illphonic, who have produced other asymmetrical horror games, including the lackluster Predator Hunting Grounds, the underrated Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, and of course their most well-known, the unpolished, buggy, but oh so fun Friday the 13th game. Which sadly will be closing its servers at the end of December 2024. But we're here to talk about clowns, so let's get down to it. Killer Klowns is another asymmetrical horror game where 3 clowns face off against 7 survivors. The survivors' goals are to locate essential items to escape the coming clown-pocalypse, which occurs when the timer reaches 0 and kills every last person on Earth. The clown's job is to capture survivors in cotton candy cocoons and harvest them for their precious fluids. Or they can just run around and simply kill survivors with one of many hilarious clownalities. Hammer time!
Help me, please!
Hey, you know what my favorite Helen Hunt movie is? Twister! Now, obviously, when making a Killer Klowns game, you want to make the Killer Klowns look good, and I will say the developers perfectly nailed the designs. Every recognizable character from the movie, including Jumbo, Chubby, Shorty, Slim, and more, look exactly like their movie counterparts. From the clothing to the makeup, and even down to the textures and wrinkles of the skin, they look fantastic. As for the humans, their designs are decent. Illphonic has come a long way from the waxy, plasticky models that we saw in the Friday the 13th game, but in this game, they're still kind of off. It's hard to describe. Speaking of the characters, there's also a good amount of customization on both the human and the clown side. You can customize all aspects of their wardrobes, including their faces with the eye color, makeup, adjust upper and lower attire, and even the clown's shoes. The humans also have a decent amount of appearance customization as well, similarly adjusting the various parts of their bodies so you can still make a somewhat unique character. Alright, now before we discuss the actual gameplay element, we gotta talk about the tutorial. Once again, like Friday the 13th, this tutorial section is somewhat lacking. Sure, it gives you an overview about the overall objectives on both the human and the clown side, and gives some beginner and advanced tips, but there are some aspects of the game that are missing. First off, I had no idea that this game had vaulting. That could have been useful to know. It wasn't until several games later that I accidentally came across the vault point, which could have helped me in many previous matches. The tutorial also doesn't tell you can actually lock doors. And while they can ultimately be destroyed, it does give that extra time to plan an escape. Oh, and while I'm talking about doors, I don't know if it's just me, but I find it incredibly difficult and annoying to close doors during a chase, because you have to be physically looking at the door to close it instead of just shutting it behind you. And if you attempt to close it while running, you'll probably just end up shutting it in your face, trapping you outside with the clown. So the majority of the time, I'll run in, close the door, and attempt to lock it, then awkwardly just stand there as the clown opens it and fires at me.
Here's Johnny!
Hi there. Oh god, no, go away. If you could run in and close it with some kind of delay somehow, maybe that would work better, I don't know. Another simple but crucial aspect that the tutorial doesn't tell you about is that every action has QuickTime events. Now, I know, if you played asym horror games, that's to be expected. But maybe someone who's never played this genre of game before doesn't know that, and thus, when they go into their very first game, they're gonna mess up and alert the clowns being surprised at the QuickTime events. And yes, you'll pick up that fact afterwards, but the game does kind of unfairly expect gamers to know how asym games work. Another problem that initially frustrated me was the fact that you can't change your control scheme. Now, I play in controller, but the fact that you not only can't see the controller scheme or even change it is an odd limitation. I did get used to the controls through experimentation, but I shouldn't have to randomly press buttons to figure out what something does. Okay, so now let's get into the nitty-gritty. How is the actual game of Killer Klowns from Outer Space? Well, it's pretty fun, but far from perfect. Now, every game will start out rather slow on both sides, with humans scavenging various items and clowns collecting stray cocoons and looking for prey. However, the game does amp up rather quickly and can lead into some very harrowing situations.
Stop being such a bumblefinger!
Almost, come on.
Yeah! And much like the movie, once you realize the ridiculousness of a bunch of clowns invading Earth with popcorn and cotton candy guns, you kind of get lost in the ludicrous nature and start to have a whole lot of fun. I think one of the aspects that really helps make this game fun is that both sides feel rather balanced. I personally have played several matches and I've never found that one side feels overpowered. I've seen games where clowns absolutely dominate, but someone uses a resurrection machine, brings back everyone, and all but one escape. Or on the opposite side, I've been on lackluster clown teams, but in the closing of the match, came back and had a near-perfect victory. There is voice chat in the game, and it can help coordinate either team's side. And sometimes things can get rather crazy. I once had a game where a bunch of people were just waiting at a boat exit, and every time me or another clown would go there, they set up an ambush and would absolutely clobber us. It was insane.
Howdy do! That was an ambush.
And like in the movie, clowns can be killed by first stunning, and then while in a sitting position, kill them by shooting or destroying their nose. On the human side, you have a decent variety of items. You can collect up to 4, 3 small, 1 big to help you out. From distracting items such as baseballs, stunning items like bricks, or melee weapons like bats or pipes, or various guns. As for clowns, you're mostly relegated to capturing, killing, or reinforcing the various exits with cotton candy to delay their exit. Now, every time you capture a human in a cotton candy cocoon, you can hook them on one of 4 generators. Every cocoon spawns a little lackey that can be used to either collect other cocoons, or alert or even stall other players by jumping on them, much like a jockey. So while killing gets rid of humans quicker, it's more beneficial to cocoon humans, not just for the lackeys, but you also get more points, and powering up the generators grants a faster clown apocalypse. Now, if you are captured in a cocoon, you're not out of the game yet. Another player can actually rescue you from the cotton candy prison, or if you have a sharp weapon, you can actually cut yourself free and even stun a clown if you're still being carried. Now, you do lose that cutting weapon afterwards, which is kind of annoying, but I'll let it go under the belief that the cotton candy is just that durable. Something else that kind of bothered me was this obnoxious multicolored bloom effect that occurs when you're low on health. To most it would be a minor annoyance, but to those with light sensitivity, that could be a seizure trigger right there. So hopefully they do reduce the effect, as it is highly distracting. At the time of the release, there are a total of 5 maps in the game, which include downtown and suburbs of Crescent Cove, the amusement park, the top of the world makeout location, and the Clown Summer Camp, which is a pretty obvious tribute to the Friday the 13th game. The maps themselves are quite large and have a lot of detail with various little structures seen in the movie, making them all relatively unique and fleshed out, as the characters will never feel claustrophobic or overwhelmed as they traverse the map. It's a good size for the characters to move around, but cluttered enough to give more life to the maps. And though these maps are a good start, to continue the game's longevity, they'll need to release many more maps. Like, imagine if there was a large interior map where we could actually run around the Killer Klowns spaceship and seeing all the cool and crazy sights we saw in the movie.
This is no fun house.
Now, it would be difficult to program escape-wise, as literally the only two methods would be the entrance and the portal, but still a cool idea. Speaking of escapes, you have a few different options per match. You have the boat, and you also have the rickety bridge you can cross, which can sometimes collapse right in your face.
Son of a bitch.
You have the bunker, which you can use to hide in and ride out the clown apocalypse, or you can even use the clown's own technology against them and take their teleporter to escape. Now, for all of these escapes, only a maximum of 3 people can use each one, so coordination is necessary. Plus, every escape requires 2 items such as the spark plug, key card, key, or gas can, which, while quite rare, doesn't feel annoyingly impossible to find. But if all else fails, during the final 30 seconds of the clown apocalypse, you can actually get rescued by the Terenzi brothers in their ice cream truck for a last-second getaway.
Hi.
There is also the resurrection machine that can be used once per match to bring back all dead players, which can be useful for a mid-game escape attempt. As for the actual gameplay, I really only experienced a few minor glitches here and there, like assets not loading in the intro or the occasional UI issue, but something that continues to annoy me are the invisible walls.
Okay, this one's like... Oh my god, invisible wall, really? Why is there invisible walls?
Now, admittedly, for the most part, it really isn't an issue, and I know why it's there, as to prevent cocoons getting stuck on top of structures, or to prevent players from exploiting the map. But if there is clearly a space above an object, I should be able to throw something over it. Maybe instead of having a straight-up invisible wall, why not make something like an invisible wall pyramid, so that it doesn't block the thrower, and if it's a bad throw, it just rolls off the side. Now, let's talk about the classes. So I do like that you can have multiple loadouts saved, which is a nice little touch to streamline the game. The classes themselves are your typical stat classes, ranging from the runners to the strong guys who aren't as fast but can take more damage, to the more technical characters who excel in niche areas. Not too much to say on the human side, but as for the clowns, some of their classes are rather confusing. Okay, you got Chubby as the tank and Shorty as the brawler. That makes sense.
What are you gonna do?
Knock my block off.
But why is Jumbo, one of the bigger clowns, a ranger? Like, I would see the heavyset clown as the trapper, and Rudy as the ranger because of his speed. Also, why is the class called trapper? You can't actually lay any traps, which would be cool, so the name doesn't really fit. For the clowns loadouts, they have a primary weapon, which is a variation of the cotton candy gun. There's a decent variety, and I like that each one feels different and has a specific utility, like how the pentashot can be used for more long-range chases. Their secondary slot includes mostly melee weapons, including a mallet, a mace, boxing gloves, and even the iconic popcorn gun. Now, thankfully, the popcorn gun has been nerfed, as it was way too OP during early access, downing a person in like 3 hits. It was ridiculous. I do hope in the future we get more weapons, as while they are fun, fans are mostly sticking to the meta weapons like the popcorn gun even after the nerf. Maybe like a pie equivalent to the ninja stars, and like the trickster in Dead by Daylight, just throw a whole bunch of pies at someone, doing more damage over time. Next, we have the clown's tricks, or powers that unlock over the course of a match. You have the LOL ability, which buffs your speed and strength, helpful in ambush or chase. You have the clown jump, where you can literally teleport to any part of the map that has been revealed to you. And the third is your choice, including Hypnotic Lure, especially useful for getting someone hiding in the bushes, a Balloon Dog for tracking down humans when in close proximity, disguising yourself as a pizza box that can run around on 2 little legs, which is hilarious, and even a clown car to get around faster. And while the game does cover a lot of tricks we've seen in the movie, the list is rather limited with literally just these 4. So I hope in the future they do add more, like maybe actually give the Trapper class its namesake and be able to plant popcorn in various spots that grow clown heads that either capture or alert other clowns. I'm just just throwing out ideas, but they do definitely need more tricks to flesh out the game. One of the final aspects I'll discuss is the Hands of Fate mechanic. If you die at any point during the game, you can either just spectate the match, or you can play these Hands of Fate minigames, which is a rather unique and refreshing idea. There's about 5 or so of these, including Balloon Pop, Wacko Clown, and Simon, just to name a few. And while rather simple and rudimentary, they actually serve a purpose. After you wind down the timer for each minigame, you can choose one of 3 cards which will grant you a random item or weapon. Now, you can hold on to it in the hopes you'll be resurrected, or you can actually send that item to any player you're spectating to help them out. While the games are admittedly repetitive, I like how the game gives the players not only something to do on their downtime, but also assist the surviving members. And it doesn't feel game-breaking as, 1, you can't give them an infinite amount of items as they can only hold 4 things, and 2, in most asym games, when the survivor is alone, sometimes when they're pretty much screwed, they just feel resigned to give up. Thus, this mechanic gives them an extra edge to persevere. Well, that pretty much covers everything. So, how is the Killer Klowns from Outer Space game? Is this asym horror the one that can finally steal the crown from Dead by Daylight? Well, no. At least not in its current state. The game still lacks a bit of polish with all the concerns I raised, and if these limitations aren't addressed, I fear for the longevity of this game. With that being said though, it is still incredibly fun. I love the ridiculous nature of the gameplay. Playing as clowns and getting to live out the fantasy of one of my favorite movies is an absolute blast. If you're a fan of the movie or asym horror games in general, I would honestly recommend this game. Ilphonic has made a great start, but now they need to buckle down and start generating more content for the future. Let me know what you guys think of the game in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe. Well, that's it for today, guys. Until next time, MC out!